Hey guys, welcome back. Green Goddess Wellness MD. Yes, I'm in my car. I was seeing patients today. I am a nurse practitioner. I practice in the state of Texas, but as I have to legally say, I am not your nurse practitioner. So this information is just that, information. Before you start any diet or exercise regimen, please bring it up with your doctor and all that goodness. How is the water and the fiber doing? I'm just watching sort of my mirrors to make sure I don't get some strange person walking in and out of the local Walgreens. Water, I fell off the wagon again because I turned my alarms off for the weekend because I wanted to sleep. And then I found that I didn't drink any at all. So I am back on the wagon. And again, it does not matter how many times you fall off. It's how many times you get up. And as for the fiber, I have got every meal down except for breakfast. And when we start talking about meal planning and packing and prepping and stuff like that, which is the bane of my existence, and I'm sure I'm not the only one that feels that way, we'll get into that a little more. So for the time being, I'm leaving it alone because I don't need that much stress all at once, and that's why we're doing it slowly, because it is not a marathon. Excuse me, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. Today I wanted to talk about our vessels, and this is really superbly important. And so moving forward into the next kind of little section of what we're going to be getting into, I wanted to make sure that you understood the physiology behind it. So here's our little bio 101 about our vasculature. Now, when I say vasculature, I mean the inside of our vessels, which are everywhere, top down, in and out. And it's going to make a little more sense as I explain it, and you're going to be like, oh, and unless you knew it already, which most of you probably do. Inside our vessels, all of them, there's layers of tissue, but of course they're the very, very inside of the tube is the endothelium. The endothelium is lined with a certain type of cell, and its job is to produce a chemical called nitrous oxide. And the purpose of this nitrous oxide is to keep the blood flowing through the vessel cleanly without interruption. When these cells are damaged and the nitrous oxide is impeded in any way, you start to form skips, and there's turbulence that forms inside the vessels. And it is noted medically in the smallest vessels first. For example, consider the diabetic. In media, they say, oh, well, diabetics have to have their eyes checked regularly for diabetic retinopathy. Why? Because the smallest vessels are damaged first. That is in the eye, in the toes, tips of fingers, tips of toes, the urinary tract system, and the kidneys. The same thing with cardiovascular disease and heart disease. If you have plaque in your arteries in one place, you have it in every place. One of the first indicators of, example number 2, a man comes into a urologist's office with erectile dysfunction, and he's told he has heart disease. Smallest vessels first. So that's kind of where we're getting here. So how do we protect our endothelium? One of the biggest endothelium destroyers and nitrous oxide rampagers are animal products. And I know you don't want to hear that, but unfortunately it's the truth. Animal products destroy the endothelial cells, creating a loss of the production of nitrous oxide through the vessels. And consider what's moving through the blood at any one time. Obviously, you have our normal blood components. You have red cells, white cells, the components of plasma. You have the components of lymph. God forbid you have a genetic disorder that means that your red cells are of a different shape. That means that you are much more prone to have your red cells get hung up, turning the corner, whereas those who have a nice, smooth, round red cell, they can bump and kind of move on through. Adding insult to injury is if you have these breakdowns of the nice, smooth walls, think of it as a water slide. If you are moving smoothly down that water slide, you're not going to get hung up on the side and then, crack your head on the way down, or, bump your elbow and, scrape your knee, working your way out. Whereas if that endothelium is working smoothly, then you're simply taking your sweet time straight to the end zone. Removing these causes of inflammation are key to preserving the function of the endothelial cells. Now, this is a lot to do all at once. So I want you to think of, for your homework for this week, think of one meal that you can either remove the dairy or remove the meat from and replace it with a non-animal based protein source. We talked about a lot of those in the last video. Beans, legumes. A lot of people don't like soy-based products like tofu and tempeh and other things like that, and that's fine. You don't have to eat that stuff if you don't want it. Lentils, beans, quinoa, some of the, there's protein in vegetables. Look it up. You can make those breakfast tacos that we talked about with the low-carb tortillas, some black beans, and some sweet potatoes, roasted sweet potatoes or butternut squash. Put some guacamole on there with some good salsa, and you've got close to 10 grams of protein for 2 tacos. Or add some brown rice and make a nice big burrito for lunch, or some quinoa, and you've got even more than that. There are ways to do this, and that's your homework for this week. I want you to look at just one meal. That's just what we're going to start with. One meal, remove the dairy, remove the animal-based protein, and swap it for a plant. And I'm interested to see what you come up with. I want you to drop in the comments which meal you choose. And then we'll try to expound on that a little more. If you want to swap some ideas with the others in the comments. And I want to hear from you guys what you'd like to discuss next. If you want to talk about meal prep and start right out of the bat. Or if you want to talk about a little more of the biology. If you want to hear more about the studies that actually prove this is the case. I want you to also do your own research. If you look up some of the most highly inflammatory foods, animal and dairy, animal products is going to be in the top of the list. If it's not, look who's putting up the list. You got to follow the money. And let's stop it there. Continue with your fiber, because once you're packing in that fiber, you're moving out everything else. Push in the fiber, keep working on your water, and just pick one meal. Consistently swap that animal-based protein with a plant. And let's work on keeping our I'm sorry, there's a joke there. Let's keep our water slides moving. Because unfortunately, I don't want necessarily to have things cut off as I get older, and I'm sure that you boys out there would prefer for the flag to still rise. So let's keep working on that. And I'll see you next time, guys. Have a good one.